The liberal black woman has been babied, coddled, and damn near infantilized into a place of no return. I mean, we don't just see this when we see the videos of the girls twerking on the police cars or twerking in the supermarket or twerking in a restaurant in front of the babies, but we see this on college campuses. Now, for my younger listeners out there, this may sound crazy to y'all. This may sound, unimaginable, but there was a time in pretty modern history where universities or colleges were respectable places, right? You would go there to become a better person, not just to elevate your skill set, but to actually develop into, that next phase of life. Now, most of them are a joke, right? They're nothing more than indoctrination camps that are used to make white people hate themselves. And if you're non-white, to make you full of yourself, to make you believe that you are the most educated group in America, even though on almost every other statistic, you are the most strugglingest demographic. And I don't wish that on anybody, but pride comes before the fall. So that being said, I want to get into a compilation of the ghetto graduations that have been taking place as of recent. And of recent, I mean the last maybe 5 to 10 years or so, right? These are some of the viral clips over the years and maybe some of the lesser known clips, but nonetheless, they are a display of what this culture has produced. And when I talk about the ghetto culture, some people think it's just a subsect that's happening on the side. I've said, no, it's become the mainstream. Gone are the days when Thomas Sowell spoke of this subculture. Today, it is a mainstream culture. And the reason I know this is because elements of it, trace elements, are in every single walk of life. You can have black folks who are in the hood, or you can have black folks in the suburbs, and there has to be some level of that. And I've seen this in my own life with literally me, who my parents have done their best to raise me as best as they can. We came from a third world totalitarian dictatorship into the United States, became citizens, and still I was caught up and wrapped up in trying to form this identity informed by my skin color. But that being said, y'all don't need any more of my yapping. We need more of this action. So let's get into it. Okay, so what we're witnessing here is, for anybody who might not be watching it in real time, is I'm guessing some professor of sorts who has a microphone, and now she has one of the students fighting for that microphone. Because what matters more to the liberal woman, the liberal black woman, just the liberal mentality overall than attention?
Okay, let's go. You didn't let me get my moment, so I want to say my name is Khadija Diallo, and I'm graduating today. I don't like how you snatched the mic out of my hand, so today is going to be all about me.
Oh, drops the mic.
So, okay, I'm going to point out a few things here. So first and foremost, why do we need that moment? Let's get psyche real quick. Let's get psychological. What has informed the liberal black woman's mentality, the way that she moves through life? Why is she angry? Why is she oftentimes more aggressive than most others in society, disproportionately? At least, I'm not saying they're the only people, and this could be, any group of people in any circumstance. But if we get down to the root cause, it is inadequacy, unworthiness, overall insecurity. It's belief of not enoughness. Like, if you see a group who the majority of these people have to always bring up their superiority, right? Black queen, black goddess, that sort of thing. Melanated queen goddess of the universe, melanated black queen, goddess, queen, melanated black queen, goddess, melanated queen. Like, these are the sorts of names and social media handles that you'll see, right? I am a black queen, black excellence. Yes. Black. Why does it always have to be at the forefront when most people don't actually care, right? You're not going to see like, oh, Asian goddess, Asian. It's not usually Chinese, like, unless they're talking about literally like a actual goddess, right? The Ming Dynasty we're talking about here. No, you're not going to see that majoritively, right? Like Hindu-esque, like, unless she's actually like a Hindu queen goddess, she is, she is, what's it called? I was going to say Shiva, but Shiva's the dude. So anyway, The reason for this is insecurity. When you're trying to make up for a deficit or a perceived deficit, you have to peacock, you have to compensate, as some would say, right? So what we're seeing here is exactly that. Hyper emotionalized, because some would just see, oh, it's just ghetto behavior, but there's actually something much deeper. Why is she's so thirsty for attention? She couldn't understand how the whole world is not paying attention. There's hints of narcissism, because narcissism at its core is a shame-based disorder, right? These are people who feel a deep, deep sense of shame, and they do everything humanly possible or non-humanly, animalistically possible to compensate for that shame.
Let go. Let go. You didn't let me get my moment, so I want to say my name is Khadijata Diallo, and I'm
You see bro in the
graduating
back?
today.
Look, he said, wait.
Khadijata Diallo, and I'm graduating today. I don't like how you snatched the mic out of my hand, so today is gonna be all about me.
That's how most of them feel. They want to make everything about themselves because they feel worthless, inadequate. They feel less than. So I'm gonna bring up the most recent viral clip now. You guys have likely all seen it. I actually did a video just on this specifically, and it is this one. So let me go ahead and get the volume off. Don't want to get a copyright. So as you see here, we have the hopping around, jumping around, gyrating. So somebody tried to call me out. They say, hey, you don't know black culture because you're a tether. You're not a real black American, blah, blah, blah. All that nonsense they use to try shame you into silence. Like they use, you're white, you're this, you're not a black person. You can't talk about it. So now you're black. Oh, you're a tether. You have to be something else. Oh, you're a sellout. They got to use something in order to try to silence you. But I don't shut up. I never will. So here we have, again, they're going nuts. They're going crazy. So this is a graduation, right? You would think to yourself, is this some sort of like ratchet club? Is this an exhibit at some sort of zoo? No, this is a graduation. Some of our scientists, doctors, innovators, educators throwing a light twerk in the midst of what you would likely see in a Baptist church somewhere in Montgomery, Alabama, on top of a hill. So, yeah. So why am I bringing this one up, you may ask? Because what would possess this group of individuals to act this sort of way at a prestigious institution of higher learning where they have become better human beings? It's because this diversity, equity, inclusion propaganda has babied, it has coddled. It has had them disillusioned that they are actually something that they're not, right? And I believe there's like a market correction that's taking place right now where, like they say, a lot of black women can't find jobs. It's disproportionately black women. It's disproportionately women of color. Blah, blah, blah. It's because a lot of y'all, well, first and foremost, the government is the number one employer of black women in America. So what does that say? Not saying that it means you're unqualified, but, government jobs tend to not have the same level of rigor or criteria to get the job. And so if you have DI policies, the government is going to be number one to implement those. And therefore, most of the people they're hiring are on the basis of quote unquote diversity, equity, inclusion, as opposed to merit. Not saying that all jobs are hiring off of merit. Relax. I know you've been at a job where somebody seems to not deserve the job, but guess what? They still got it. So these are people who have been disillusioned to believe that, oh, you're here because you're actually the smartest, the brightest, the most educated, not because you've been giving a hand up. They talk about equity. You've actually been given you are benefiting from the inequity. There is segregation, or there is, discrimination taking place with Asian and white American students, where lesser of them are being accepted into higher institutions in place of these individuals. Because they believe, oh, well, if black women were just given the chance, they would not show up and act this way at graduations. Because if we just gave them a chance, they would show who they actually truly are. Scientists, doctors, educators, and innovators. Yeah. So we've got that. Then next up we have, I don't know if you guys have seen this one. This is a more recent one as well. But I don't know if I can play the song in the back. It is one of the most well-known songs of all time. At least for the Americana, it is.
And the road gets
It is a very hard to listen to rendition of the American anthem, Star Spangled Banner. So for those of y'all who don't notice, it is another extremely insecure, narcissistic type of individual who, is simply pointing a camera at themselves. I mean, this is of the times. This isn't to any just ethnicity group, etc. It's just overall culture of narcissism that's being developed, since the advent of the selfie camera, basically. So here, we have old girl right here. She says, "I will not stand for this." What will she not stand for? The anthem to the country that has afforded her the opportunity to be in the place that she is. I'm not saying that she's not bright. She's not a genius. She's not any of these things. I'm just simply stating that, and again, you have the right to do whatever you want. Look at this dude. He's just looking right into the camera like, what is she doing? You have the right to do whatever you want. You can stand or not stand. You can sing or not sing. You can feel any type of way. But again, why I would include this in the ghetto graduation is because the mentality, the victim mentality that has been adopted, that has actually been ingrained into Black culture for a long time. Even before the ratchetness was there was the victim mentality of, look what has happened to us. Woe is us. Woe is us. And I'm not saying this is the only group of people. You got this with the Jewish community and the Holocaust and things of that nature. And I'm not going to sit here and say you should never remember these atrocities that happened to your people. But the difference is when you use them and you weaponize them. And you attack everybody else on the basis of them, right? I'm not saying that the Jewish community isn't doing it, but by golly, they have at least built their way up. I mean, half of y'all believe that, they control everything in the world. Looks like they have improved conditions a little bit. So it's possible, right? We don't talk about the Japanese in those internment camps in America, where more of them were unalived than Black folk by the KK and the other K. We don't like to talk about that, but by golly, they sure, seem to have figured things out. Again, it's not to discredit and say these things didn't exist, but when you have the victim mentality, it's manifest destiny. You create the reality that you can fathom for yourself. So if you're always saying I can't because these constrictions or whatever it is, then you're always going to create from that belief system, from that mentality. If you believe you can, you're right. If you believe you can't, you are also right. Henry Ford. But he's a white man. He could say that because he's a white privilege. Okay. As a man thinketh, so is he. It's in your Bible. There you go. That's a white man's Bible. Okay. Can't win with these folks, right? Can't win. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. So we're going to get to the last and most striking of these. But are we surprised by the demographic? And again, this is also an insight just how insane the last 10 or so years have been. Like, everybody's got trauma from the last 10 years from this woke nonsense. My God, we're all healing together, We're all healing together. So let's. Oh, no, I can't play that. It's got some music in the back. But anyway. Okay, so let me go ahead and hear what this is talking about, what she say. I'm going to mute it on my side so I can hear the words that are being said, but I can't play it because there's music in the back. Okay, she's not saying anything. She is allegedly, she's eating. Some little bit of big backetry taking place at the graduation. Oh, take that. Yep. So Black students matter. Now, again, she seems like she has a very jolly sort of attitude and demeanor. She is excited, as she should be. Congratulations. You have indeed graduated. Yes. Eating, once again. Yes. Okay. So, did she... Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. She said, I'm not going to shake your hand. I'm going to eat because you're a white man, so I'm just going to not acknowledge you at all. See that? He's like, oh, congratulations. Nope, no, white man. It's my turn. It's my again back to the insecurity aspect, and unfortunately, insecurities can compound. So we also have, the big backatry taking place here, the big backness, and there's a lot of great people. I mean, a lot of people in my family have gone through their weight gain and weight loss journeys. And I'm proud of many of them for doing so. And, I understand how hard it can be to not use food as a sedative, as a drug, and to cover up a host of other things that are hard to confront. I get it. It's not easy, especially in a world where you have so much choice for foods that are so delicious and just so happen to expand that waistline. But we see a lot of insecurity in these types of individuals. That's why, again, they have this perpetual need of attention. Somebody may say, but you're always on the internet talking to a camera. Don't you, aren't you insecure, loving attention? I'll be honest. I do this because I love to do this, right? I can care less what you think about me, really, truly. That's why I'm able to talk about these subjects and not really be phased off of the backlash that I face on a daily basis, because it's about me, but it's bigger than me. I'm never going to be this person, just altruistic. No, I love the fact that I can do what I love and make a living from it. That's an incredible thing. I love that. But I've never been a person to be like, let me get some attention today. I don't take selfies for selfie's sake, etc. If I'm going to turn this camera on, there's going to be something to be said for a reason. It's not to show you how cool I am. It's to communicate, to have a conversation with you. I enjoy that. I like that. I'm a fan of that. It's my thing, right? But what we see here and is overarching, again, it's instilled in the ghetto mentality. So she's graduating. She has to, hey, we finna eat. Yeah, we finna, ooh. And it's the Jasmine Crockett, ghetto queen of Congress on one day and Jasmine on the next, depending on who the audience is. It's the perpetual code switch. So I'm going to put on this voice when I wanted to. And then also, I'm not gonna. I mean, at least she's got her natural hair, and so that's good, right? But the ghetto graduation, we can't just have just a normal, because some people say, well, everybody goes wild. No, this guy literally just walked by. He's just like, okay, maybe he did this too. I don't know. Maybe we missed it. Maybe he ate too, right? Maybe he showed his white students matter shirt. Maybe I missed that. I didn't get the context, but I assume that, it's a very specific demographic that is still finding themselves in this place. And how do you deal with your insecurity? Like, you might be somebody out there and you're thinking to yourself, how do I actually heal from this? Maybe you're the 1 of 1% who actually wants to take accountability and responsibility for your own life. And I'll start by saying this. Your trauma may explain the behavior, but it doesn't explain it away. Maybe it wasn't your fault that the thing happened, but it is your responsibility of who you become in spite of those things, or sometimes even motivated by those things in life that may have happened in childhood, etc. Those insecurities. You deal with it first and foremost by confronting it. That's why I always speak to these things. If you're not willing to accept how you're living and how you're moving, you cannot correct. If you cannot accept, you cannot correct. If you can't diagnose or take the diagnosis for the problem, you will never get to the healing. You'll never get to the treatment of the thing. And unfortunately, with this ghetto mentality, there's so much, not delusion. What's the word I'm looking for? Denial. There's so much denial. It's not happening. That's not what it is. And then there's projection. You're doing this. You're the problem. You're the this. There's blame as opposed to taking accountability. And many of us, at some point in our life, we have feared accountability because it feels like punishment. It feels like I'm bad. I did something wrong and I'm going to be, punished for it. That comes from childhood. Punish, reward. Not understanding that in real life, taking accountability means you have power. You have freedom. When I take responsibility, instead of blaming somebody, whether it's the government, my mama, my daddy, whoever it is, I take back the power, right? It don't matter. No amount of degrees is going to give you that. I'm the most educated, but why are you still the most broke down, destitute, the most in debt, etc.? Because you're not willing to take responsibility and accountability. Somebody's supposed to take care of your whole life. And then you realize that they won't. And then now you're pissed off at them. And now you're begging them for handouts. It's a very backward sort of thing, as opposed to I know I have the power in me to dictate where my life goes, the trajectory of my life. I may not be able to control the situations that are happening out there, but I can control my response and my reaction and how I choose to move forward. These are the harder conversations to have for anybody, but they're the only ones that actually set us free. As much as I may talk about everything here, I still don't live a life where I'm like, that's going to stop me from getting to where I want to get to in life. That's why I don't blame the white man. I don't blame the black man. I don't blame this one. I don't blame that one. If I don't like my condition, just like I didn't, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I had to do something to change it. That meant sacrifice. That meant doing things that I didn't want to, necessarily want to do, like face my own limiting beliefs and work through those and, do things in spite of my lack of feelings of adequacy and building up competency in certain places. Putting out content and there's crickets and nobody's watching and believing that it's going to happen for me and figuring it out to this very day. I'm not even close to where I envisioned for myself and what I want to build and what I want to leave behind on this earth. But, again, all of this was by design, it's by choice. And if you live unintentionally, if you live, off of the whims, or if you live on blame, you will forever be giving your power over. And therefore, whatever you get out of life is going to be based on everybody else. And I don't know about you, but I'll be damned if that's going to be my life. So that is the reason why we get rid of the ghetto mentality. The ghetto mentality is the victim mentality. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there. Or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. But I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking a 3, 6, 5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.